Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming along to our CAS 360 Essentials webinar for April 2025. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come along and join us for this webinar, and do hope that it is of interest for both new users that have joined firms that are using CAS 360 and any existing users that are keen to just get a bit of a refresher and hopefully learn about some of the other core functions that are available and utilizing those moving forward. Now, for those that might be new to a firm and not familiar with myself, my name is Ra Williams and I am the account manager here in New Zealand. So just a little bit of webinar housekeeping before we get stuck into things. As mentioned, this is going to be both beneficial to new and existing users today, and do hope you'll be able to take away a few key learnings and a little bit more knowledge around the software where possible. Now, if you do have any questions, you are also welcome to reach out using that Q&A chat box, as I do actually have a few panelists along with us today to be able to help answer those questions during the webinar. And we've got Kajal, who is our Business Development Manager for New Zealand, alongside Damien, who is our Manager for Account Management across the APAC regions. And then we've also got Reese, who is one of our lead account managers. So you're definitely in good hands, and I'd highly suggest throwing through any questions that you might want answered during that webinar session today. In regards to the time frame of today's webinar, it is a 3-hour webinar, so we're going to be hopefully wrapping up just at about 1 p.m. And for those that are also wanting to refer back to this at a later date, perhaps, do know that this webinar will also be recorded, so you'll also be able to review this and check out anything in the future as well. On top of that, we will be having a 10-minute tea break about halfway through or so. So if you need to get up, stretch your legs, that's obviously a great time to do so. But as mentioned, it is going to be recorded, so if anything pops up in between, do know that you're not going to miss out on any of this great information that we'll be going through today. Now, what will also be happening is we will be sharing through the CAS 360 Essential Training Manual that's going to be available in the Zoom chat box there for you. I'll have one of our panelists chuck that through shortly. And in this way, it just acts as a bit of a base as to a lot of the key functions that I'll be going through today, and just give you a nice little area to reference back if there was anything else you wanted to check in on. And of course, for different learning styles, some are visual learners, some prefer to read. So just wanting to make sure that you've got all available resources that are going to be of help. But I will also be pointing out a whole lot of good resources that you've got available in the software too. So in terms of today's topics, what we will be covering is the likes of how you can get started with CAS 360, really helpful for those that are new and wanting to connect their authorized agent so you can get the magic happening between CAS 360 and Companies Office. Further to that, we will be checking out the homepage and general tips around the navigation tabs and how you can explore everything there, as well as the likes of our alerts, especially our smart alerts, alongside the annual return, office holder and shareholder workflows that are available, how you can complete annual returns, as well as making any changes between the office holder and shareholder side of things as well. Further to that, we will be checking out how you can do multiple company changes, which is really helpful feature within CAS 360 if you're looking to do multiple changes that affect a range of companies in particular. Then we will be checking out the likes of the document screen and how you can file through the company's office, alongside checking out the trust functions that are available, reporting options that are also there within the software, some of your settings that you can customize and set up further so that you can tailor it to your own firm's preference and branding. And lastly, we will be wrapping up on the AML compliance workflow, which will even also be checking out some of the identity verification options that are available from the software too. So without further ado, let us get stuck into it. So to access CAS 360, what you want to do is just head over to bglcorp.co.nz. That was bglcorp.co.nz. And from within here, what you will be able to do is using that orange login button, you can choose CAS 360 and you'll be able to go ahead and log into CAS 360. Now, do bear in mind you would need to first be invited to the software in order to be able to access that. But once the account owner of the firm or those with admin user rights have done so, that's then going to take you through to log in with your email, and it'll even proceed to set you up with your own password for this as well. However, once that's done, you'll be able to then go through, chuck those details in there, and log straight into CAS 360. Now, if you are also working across multiple firms, it is going to let you know that if you've got a few different ones to choose from there. However, in today's example, I'm just going to be going ahead with our test account, and then that's going to let us head straight on into it. Now, what I would also suggest you do as well is do be sure to bookmark CAS 360. Just this way, you're not going to have to type in BGL Corp or anything multiple times, especially if you're going to be using this on a daily basis. That's going to be really helpful, obviously. Now, for those that are new and wanting to get the authorized agent connected to company's office and get some of that magic going between the two, what you would want to do is choose the getting started option. However, if you are new to the software, it might even also take you there anyway. And what you can choose to do is hit the importing data button. Once you choose to do so, this is going to go through a few different steps of letting you choose your jurisdiction. In this case, we'll go ahead and choose New Zealand, of course. And then what this is going to do once we've hit continue through is it's then going to proceed to take us to company's office, where we can then log in with our RealMe details, and that's then going to cause the integration to happen between the software and company's office. Now, if you have already done that, and I'm just going to quickly jump out of this, you can also refer to your authorized agent, companies, and details via the prepare agent form here, and you can choose to request for the authorized companies list. Once again, you'll see that you can choose your authorized agent there once you've connected those two together. And here you'll be able to see your list of companies that you are authorized for. Now, this is really great because you've heard me mention that there's a few magical bits that happen around this. So the integration between CAS 360 and Companies Office means that once you've authorized this and you've got those companies that you're ready to pull through, it's actually going to pull through with all the current information that you've got listed on Companies Office. So this includes the company name, of course, but also the likes of the company's addresses that are associated on there, your current directors, as well as your current shareholders and their balance, which is going to be really helpful in you managing all your company administration and any tasks associated with that moving forward. However, coming back to the authorized companies list, we can see that we've got a range of companies that we are authorized here for in this test account. And if it's already been imported in, it's going to look like this with the green tick box there. You can also choose to deselect them, make any updates, and if you've got any other ones that might not already be imported, it'll simply say ready for import. Now, once you are ready to import in, if you've got other ones you would like to bring in, you can simply choose to hit that import companies button, and that's then going to go ahead and load them into your CAS 360 account. Now, further to that, what I would like to point out is just some of the navigation tabs along the top here. So you've first in the top left-hand corner, you've got your global search bar. So what you can do in this search bar is you can simply search for something, and that's going to pull up not only your contacts, but your companies, as well as if you've got any trusts listed under said name as well. So that's going to be really helpful if you're looking to find something in particular. And do be sure to use that one if you knew exactly what you're looking to get into there. Now, moving along to our right hand side, we can see that we have our community button. If you go ahead and click that, this is going to take you through to our community page, which is essentially an area where you can create a post or check out other posts that have been listed by other fellow CAS 360 users in case you're wanting to find out how a particular firm might be going or how you might be finding but bit of a tongue twister, sorry. How you might be wanting to find out how another firm has gone about a particular process, or if you're just wanting to check in on something there as well. Just next to that one there, you've also got the feedback button. So if you've got any ideas or wanted to share any feedback through, do be sure to utilize this one. I'm always trying to encourage our clients to do so because there's actually a lot of implementations that we've put on based on user feedback. So yeah, if you've got any ideas that you think would benefit all firms and would be a great addition to CAS 360, you're more than welcome to simply type that into here, and then you will be able to send that through to myself and the team by hitting that send button. And we really do hope that if you've got any great ideas, that we are able to hear from you with those. Moving on from there, just next to that, you've got your bell icon or the notifications button. If you click on that, that's going to expand out to show you your notifications, as well as breaking that down to any that you might not have read yet, alongside some other bits and pieces as well, such as settings, and being able to adjust these as read or check out the receipt as such too. However, I will be coming back to this one shortly, so I won't dwell on this one for too long, as there's a few other areas I'd like to show you around this one. But moving on from there, you've got that question mark icon or the help section. This is really helpful, especially if you're trying to find out in regards to any of our new releases, which you can check out under our new feature notes. And another key area I'd like to point out is our New Zealand help page. So if you go ahead and click that one there, this is going to bring you through to our CAS 360 help or knowledge base. And from within here, we've got a whole lot of helpful articles in regards to all the different processes and helpful articles that will help guide you through any of those processes. So you can simply type in what you might be looking for. I've added direct and it's picked up anything that's listed in article with the word direct. But if I put in director, now we can see that this is listing all our help articles to do with anything that might involve a director. And these are going to be really helpful in showing you how you can go about that particular process within CAS 360. As we can see here, it's even got little images and screenshots of what that looks like. So it's going to be really helpful if you wanted to refer back to anything. And I do suggest checking out the CAS 360 help page, as it is full of great information that might be of assistance to yourself. Top of that, we do also have our CAS 360 dictionary in here, which is where our text codes are available. So if you're looking to customize any templates and documents, that's going to be really helpful. But I will be coming back around to this a little bit later when we do check out how you can customize your templates as such. And as mentioned, you can also check out the new feature release notes from within here as well, or by simply clicking on that new feature notes button within the help icon as seen previously. Awesome. So just next to those, we can see that we've also got the live chat button. So if you ever have a question or you get stuck with anything, you're more than welcome to use our live chat option, and this is going to put you in touch with our support team during their working hours of 11 till 7 New Zealand time, or 11 a.m. till 7 p.m. New Zealand time, as they are based in Australia. Nonetheless, what it will first do is you'll be able to type in your question here, and it's simply going to guide you through to one of our help articles in case that can be of help in the meantime. And if not, you'll be able to hit the get in touch button, and it's then going to put you through to our support team who will be more than happy to assist you. And they are really helpful in getting you up and running if there's any particular questions or steps within CAS 360 you might just want a little bit of a helping hand with. Following on from that, though, you do have the phone icon or the support option. This is going to be similar to the live chat option. So if you're looking to perhaps try find out about a particular process, or if you needed a little bit of help there, you can simply search what you might be needing assistance with. It's going to point out a whole bunch of different help articles that might be able to help in the meantime. But if not, you can always choose to hit this button here and you'll be able to go ahead and log a support call. So through here, you'll be able to choose if you'd like an email or telephone call, what the issue might be around, and then you can even go ahead and type in what the issue or question is that you would like assistance with. And you can even go ahead and drop in some screenshots if that's going to help reference what you might be referring to. And then you can choose to send that through to our support team, and then they'll be able to go ahead and assist you with that through your preferred correspondence method of either email or telephone. Now, if you did even need to sign out, that's what that sign out button is going to do there for you. So relatively self-explanatory, but if you did even need to do so, that option is there as well. And just next to that, you've got your app switcher button. So if you go ahead and click that, this is going to be able to give you the option to check out our integrations as well as our learning channel. Now, I'd just like to especially point out that the learning channel is another great learning resource that we have available. It's got a whole bunch of videos curated around all the different functions within CAS 360 and is essentially rather similar to what I'm actually going through here today. But just once again, it's just one of those additional resources that we like to provide CAS 360 users with so that you've got as much resources on hand to be able to get you through any new or different aspects of the software. Now, for those with administrator or account owner access, the users tab is going to be especially helpful. You go ahead and click that one there. What you can do is just underneath the admin section, underneath invitations, this is where you can look to invite a new user to the firm's license. So you can simply go ahead and click invite new user. You input their email, you input their first and last name, and then you can choose what type of role or access they would like to have within CAS 360. Once done, you'll be able to simply send that one out by hitting invite said user. And you can even go ahead and add in multiple users all at the one time as well. Now, in regards to those role settings as well, these are fully customizable as well. So you did see that you can invite a user to CAS 360 to have particular accesses and functions within CAS 360, but you can actually go ahead and completely set up a new and custom option by hitting that add new user role. And then this is going to proceed to take you through to adjust what that might include or not include as well. And you can even go ahead and name that entirely as you see fit. Let's say view only or new user, whatever it might be. You're more than welcome to set that up as to your own liking. Now, just heading back to CAS 360. I did mention previously that there is the notification settings, or area I should say. So that one is just accessed underneath that bell icon, and this is going to be really helpful for you to see all the comings and goings of everything that's been prepared and happening in CAS 360. So if you simply check out the all section, this is just going to list everything that has been happening, and you can even go ahead and click view to go straight to it, or mark it as read if you're already across it. This also breaks it down into your unread section, so if there's anything that you might not have seen yet, you will be able to simply go ahead and check those ones out simply by doing so. Further to that, we do also have the settings button just next to it as well. So if you are actually wanting to set up email reminders from CAS 360, you can simply toggle that one on. You'll be able to go ahead and adjust what you would like to receive an email reminder about. So whether it's any failed emails or annual returns that are due, upcoming, whatever it may look like, you can simply choose to toggle those on and off. And then you can even go as far as adjusting when you would like to receive that email, whether it be daily, weekly, fortnightly. So totally able to be catered to your own working style and preference. And you can even go as far as to adjust what day you want to receive that email, as well as what time you would also like to see that email. So you can really make sure it's slotted into your inbox at a more convenient time. And once you're done with that, you'll simply want to go ahead and choose Save Settings, and that one will then be applied. Now, another area that I did want to point out is that you can actually go ahead and expand on this by hitting the See All Messages button. This is then going to bring you down to the Messages tab, which can also be accessed from the left-hand side here. And this is going to simply take you through a more expanded version, breaking down everything and putting in a really nice, easy visual format, which you can see in regards to what company has had what change and what has happened with said document, even at what time as well. You do have a whole bunch of filters you can also use on the left hand side. So if you just want to check out what's been happening this month, today, or any that you might not have read so far, you will be able to simply filter through those and check those out as per. Just next to that, you've also got your outbox. So anything that has gone from CAS 360 out to your clients, you will be able to see here as well. And it's also going to let you know if that email's been delivered. And if you go ahead and actually click on that one there, oh, no, bear with me. Click on the view email section there. It's even going to go ahead and show you what that email looked like that you sent. And let's say for whatever reason, if you need to resend that email out, once again, the client's said they've lost it in their inbox or whatever the story may be, you can simply go ahead and click send, and that will resend that one out as per. Further to that as well, if you do have any document reminders set up, you will also see them underneath your pending outbox. But for those that might not be familiar with setting up document reminders, don't worry, I will be covering that a little bit later in depth. So this is going to be really helpful if you did have any already set up. And if you've also done any identity verifications within CAS 360, this is where you'll be able to refer to those ones there, and it's going to let you know where that's gone through to, if that's been completed, and if that's even passed or failed, or if you've got any pending ones on the system. And with those as well, you've also got a whole bunch of alert filters on the left hand side, so you can check out a few different ones depending on what you're after there. Great. So that's going to give you a little bit of a rundown as to some of the notifications, general navigation tips, as well as some of the alerts that you've got available on hand for your notifications and such. But another one of the key areas I would like to point out is some of our smart alerts. So I'll just take my label off because this is going to expand out to show you all the companies that I've got here within the CAS 360 test account. And from here, we can see that we do have 3 different smart alerts. So these are going to be really helpful for you in regards to keeping on top of upcoming annual returns, any discrepancies with Companies Office, as well as any compliance tasks or expired identity documents you might have attached to a client. So we can see here with this first row, this is our annual return alert. Simply clicking on that one there, it's going to go ahead and give you a notification letting you know that, hey, this company actually has their annual return alert due this month. And you're even able to proceed directly through to the returns tab to start working on that as per. But you will notice that you've got a range of different colors. So if we check out this yellowish looking one here, we can see that this is actually coming up soon. So it's giving you a bit of a heads up that, hey, there's going to be a bit of work coming up for any companies with those ones there. Even with the likes of the ones referenced in blue as well, we can also see that, hey, this one is also upcoming too. Now, with those darker colored ones, we can see this is letting you know that, hey, this is actually due as of February and is obviously now overdue and definitely needs a bit of actioning to be done there. Moving on to our middle column there, this is our health alerts. So we can simply check these out by simply clicking on it, and we'll be then able to see if there's any discrepancies between the data that's on Companies Office versus what you've got here in Companies Office. Now, this is done every day and we can even go ahead and see what time that this check was done. So this was done at about 5:39 a.m. Nice and early. CAS 360 out there checking the system for you, and it's letting you know that, hey, there's a particular discrepancy that's been found today, just in case something was filed on company's office by the client, let's say. Common occurrence being the likes of a client updating their address, not letting the firm know. The very next day, you'll actually get notified of any discrepancies, and this is going to be really helpful for that, especially. And by simply clicking through, that's then going to take you through to see what exactly that one might be. Now, our third smart alert we've got on hand is our compliance alert. So if you click on that one there, it's going to let you know, hey, said driver's license has actually expired for 2 of these contacts. So this is going to be triggered automatically based on the expiry date of said identity document you've put in there. So it's going to be really helpful, and you're not going to have to manually check and update or manually check if something is out of date or not. The system's going to automatically let you know said document has expired. Once again, these are broken down into a few different color regimes. So for this one here, we can see that there is a expired driver's license, but it's also letting us know that, hey, there is actually some more identity information required for said contact, and we can click that button to go through to the compliance section and start working on that as per. Now, if you did even need to refer back to what each of those icons mean, you can simply hover your mouse over the question mark, and then this is going to break down what all those different colors are referring to and what might need to be actioned. Now, as you did see on some of our other screens as well, we do have the alerts on the, or not alerts, the filters on the left-hand side, which you can use to filter out which type of alert you might be wanting to check out further. So if we were wanting to particularly look at the annual returns and let's say any that might be due, you can simply click on that, and then this is then going to show up with those that are purely due, any that might have had the date passed, as well as any of those other options there as well. Same applies with the likes of your AML and health check alert. Simply clicking on those ones there, it's going to give you a range of options to check out those for you to action. So if you're really just needing to look into something in particular, you will be able to do so, and quite easily as well. And if you want to head back to your general screen viewing all the companies, just hitting that top option there, and that will then bring you back to being able to view everything on hand. So that gives you a bit more of an idea around those smart alerts, and we do hope that this is going to help make life a little bit easier, as this is especially what the software is tailored towards, and helping you be able to keep on top of any changes, upcoming identity expiry documents that might need actioning, and of course your annual returns that are coming up or might be due. Now, speaking of annual returns, that's actually going to be the next section we'll be checking out. So to head to your annual returns, you'll just want to click on the returns screen on the left hand side. This then brings us to the return screen for CAS 360. And once again, we can see that we've even got some filters on the left-hand side that we can use if we just want to see what's due, or perhaps checking out what might have come up recently as well. Now, you do also have the option to be able to filter your annual return month as well. So if you're wanting to check out what's happening across the next couple of months, you will simply be able to adjust that one there, and then you'll be able to see any other ones that are simply coming up across the next couple of months that you might need to check out and get on top of. Now, if you did also want another really helpful area to reference your annual returns, what I would like to point out is the annual return listing report. So if you did want to check this one out, you'll simply head through to your report section. And then just underneath your company report, you've got your annual return listing report available. And this is going to allow you to select particular companies or all of them straight off the bat, alongside being able to apply a few different filters, such as if you wanted that to be associated with particular agents, as well as if you need to check out any of those other options. You do have a few different filters you can use to tailor that one to your liking, and then you can either export that one out as an Excel or PDF format. In this case, I'll just choose a PDF to show you what that looks like. And then here we can see said company alongside its details, the return due date, and what that status might be if perhaps you've already started working on it, if something's gone out, whatever it may look like. You'll be able to view that using this report here. So just a nice little helpful report I wanted to point out, especially for those that like to have a report on hand as they go about their working process. But once again, you can always check that out using your filters on the left hand side if you wanted to check out what's coming or due using those filters as well. Now, what I will take you through is the annual return workflow, which is very similar to many of the workflows within CAS 360. So let's say if we are wanting to prepare the annual return for RMW Limited, that's this one here, we can see that there is the comparison report, which has failed for one company. And this just simply means that there's actually discrepancies on the company's office against the data you've got within CAS 360. So very similar to that smart alert or your health alert that points out any of these. This is just simply letting you know that, hey, there's actually something here that might be worth checking out. And we do always advise that you only work or file annual returns that have passed the comparison report. What you can also do is simply clicking on that there. This is then going to expand that comparison report to point out the details that are mismatching. And you'll be able to even go through each section, such as the addresses, officers, shareholders, and your ultimate holding company as well. Simply going through to expand on that. It's then going to bring out all the other details for what's on CAS 360 versus company's office. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the annual return for RMW Limited. And what we can do is just simply go ahead and click Prepare Documents. This is then going to trigger the CAS 360 workflow, which we can see has listed itself in the top left corner there, 2025 annual return for said company that is due on said date. Now CAS 360 has a range of documents that will be automatically populated and pre-filled depending if you've got them included or not. To simply toggle them on and off, you're just using that toggle button. And if you wanted to see what that one looks like, you'll just simply click the section highlighted in blue, and that's then going to give you a preview of what said document looks like. Now do bear in mind that all these documents can also be customized, and you can set up as many templates as you wish. So this is really helpful if you want to apply any of your firm branding or preferences to it, and they are obviously being able to be set up to your own preference as well. But a whole bunch of good information listed out as we can see here, and this is all automatically populated based on the information you've got for said company within CAS 360. Go ahead and check out that solvency resolution document too. So we can see here, this one's got a couple of signing lines. And we can also see that that is referenced by the pen icon. So anytime you see that pen icon, it simply means that there is a signing line within that one. And you can also choose to adjust that for the annual return document, as I do know this is quite a common one I've heard from firms across the board. Some firms prefer to have it signed, some don't. So you can simply choose to adjust that by using that toggle there. Currently I don't have a signing line on that one there, so if I did want to have that enabled, we can go ahead and toggle that one on. You can even go ahead and choose which director is going to be signing that one off. So in that case, I've just changed that over. And as mentioned, if you've got any templates that you've set up, you can even choose to go through and have that one applied. Let's say I'm just going to go ahead and change that one over now. Alongside a few other different settings should you wish to have those changed. And once done, you'll simply hit that save button. This is just simply letting us know that we do have digital signing turned on. So just giving us a bit of a heads up there. And it's also once again pointed out just up top there that I have actually got these turned on for digital signing. And that is also referenced when we see those pen icons listed out in green. But now when we go ahead and take a look at that annual return document, and we can see that I changed that template over to be the branded version, which I set up earlier. So it does look a whole lot more different now. But just like that, you can see that this one has all that same information, but just listed out in a slightly different format, and now includes that signing line with that director I changed that over to as well. Now, if you did want to adjust that for manual signing, what you can also do is hit the electronic signing options. It's also going to point out if you did or who is going to be signing off on which documents. But if you need to change that over, you can simply change your digital signing provider through here. If you're not wishing for any digital signing to take place, you'll simply change that over to none. And once you're happy with your changes, you'll be able to go ahead and hit save. And now that we can see that that pen icon has been grayed out, so it's now not utilizing the digital signing piece. And once again, if you wanted to adjust any of those documents that are going to be sent out to your client or downloaded, you'll simply use those toggles to do so. But for this example, I am going to be looking to utilize the digital signing workflow, so I will go ahead and turn it on. In this case, I'll just be using FewSign for it. And seeing as I've just left on the annual return document, we can see that it's just going to be myself signing that one, or Clifford Richard, but coming through to myself to showcase for you today. And once we're happy with that, we can hit save, and that one has now been applied as per. Now you do have those options next to each document, so if you did want to adjust anything, you've got a few different options being able to do so within there. And as mentioned, if you wanted to change your template, simply changing those over and then hitting save once done to have it applied. Now, if you did actually want to attach any additional documents to either send off to your client or have downloaded, you will be able to hit that upload button, and this is then going to simply allow you to include what document or additional piece you might want to have uploaded and included within this as well. You can then go ahead and choose to either download those documents. Let's say you've got your client in the firm with you, and you might want to download those so you can print it off and have the client sign those off. But in this case, because I'm going to be looking to utilize that digital signing process and actually give you a bit of a inkling as to what that would look like on the client side as well, we can choose to go ahead and hit send. And this is then going to show you the preview of the email that will be making its way out to the client. Once again, pointing out what that email it's going to be making its way out to. But if you need to CC in, BCC, and any other uh, people that might be involved, you will be able to do so. And you can even go as far as updating the subject line or adding in any additional text that might need to be included in said email if there was an additional change that you wanted to be included within this. However, we can see that this has also been customized. So we've got a little bit of branding listed down the bottom there. And we've also got the text codes that are also showing as well. So these are our CAS 360 text codes that can be found in the CAS 360 dictionary I referenced earlier. And these are just simply the codes that are allowing CAS 360 to automate that information So it's going to pull through with said person's information and just means that you're not going to need to manually update anything, as that's what we would like the text codes to help with and do that heavy lifting for you. Now, once you're happy with that one there, you'll be able to hit send. That is then going to make its way out to myself. And it's also going to give you a bit of a heads up that the annual return documents have been prepared, and that's then removed that from the returns tab over to the document screen, so that then once it's signed off, we'll then be able to go ahead and file that through to company's office. Now we can give you a bit of a inkling as to literally what the client would see as well. So we can see that that email has now come through. We can also see that that text code has now also populated with that due date for the annual return, as well as the director's name. In this case, I'm just going to pretend it's myself. And you can also go ahead and hit the review documents button, and then utilizing the digital signing process, and in this case, FuseSign, we can go through, review those documents, and sign them off all within literally just a few moments. So here it's pointing out that we've got just the one document that requires actioning. If we had toggled on the other documents, it would also point those ones out and have them listed there. Your client will be able to simply check this one out, and if they're happy with everything, they'd simply go ahead and sign off. And they can either choose to type their name, simply do a signature, and that one will then be done. Heading back to CAS 360 in that case, we'll also get a notification for that one letting us know that that one has been done. It should just come through in just a minute or so. But in the meantime, what I will point out, just to give that a minute, is you do also have the ability to bulk file annual returns as well. So if you've got a range of different annual returns that are currently due, what you can do is simply use that box on the left hand side to select them, and then using either the prepare documents to go ahead and prepare the documents for those three companies. You'll then see that it's then got a range of different templates you can set up for each one. So if you had different ones for each client, you'll simply be able to choose from them in there. And if you wanted to toggle on whether or not they're going to be receiving all the documents, or perhaps these companies use the annual return and solvency, you'll be able to have those toggled on. And then once you're happy to send those out, you'll be able to choose to hit that deliver by email button. And that's then going to, once again, show you what you've got. In this case, I did pick a company that I don't have a agent for, but nonetheless, that's all right. However, what you can also do is, if you did have annual returns that don't need to be prepared, the client has given you the A-OK that the annual return is good to be filed, and you've got a range of them, can simply choose to toggle that box and then hit the lodge annual return. And this is then going to go ahead and file that straight through to company's office, and can save you plenty of time, especially given that sometimes these things can take a whole lot of time, especially if you're working through multiple companies that all might simply just have them filed through and don't need any sign off or any documents prepared for it as such. Awesome. Now just coming back to that notifications bell, we can actually see we've got a wee notifications, so that annual return for RMW Limited has been signed. We can even go ahead and click that view button, and it's then brought us through to the documents underneath the document screen, as well as the ability to view the signed documents. And we can see that signature just listed there as per. So you're just using that eye icon to be able to view that document, and if you want to download it, you can simply use that middle button, and that's applicable on all of your documents there. And we've also got a audit report from FuseSign giving us a bit of an idea as to the timings around that document there as well. Otherwise, now that we're in our document screen here, we can see that this is referenced on the left-hand side, as well as saying that this is where all our documents are. We can also go ahead and then see that RMW Limited has had the annual return documents prepared, and the status has even been updated to show that it's been signed. In the event of, let's say, this previous one where we've prepared a change and it's been sent off, we can actually just see that it is currently FuseSign sent to client. So with your digital signing, the status is automatically going to be updated once it comes back to you, so you'll be able to help keep on track of everything and whether it's been signed or if it's still sitting with the client, and especially knowing what date that one's happened on as well. Now, for this annual return, once we're happy with everything, we've gotten that one back, you can just go straight through to lodging by hitting that lodge button. So you're going to pull up the authorized person for said company and what email is going to be listed there. And once we're happy with that, we can go proceed and hit lodge, and that one's then going to proceed and be lodged. This case, of course, because it is a test company, it's unfortunately come back as rejected, but nonetheless, you're always going to get that instant notifications to let you know if it's been rejected or if it's been accepted, and you will also be able to see why it's been rejected by simply hovering your mouse over it as well. Now that gives you a bit of an idea around the annual return workflow, as well as a little bit more around the document screen. Now what I would like to check out next is some of the office holder changes that you can do within CAS 360. So simply heading back to your company screen, and once again my screen is a little bit more minimized now, but that's just because I've got a label set up. So if you did have labels set up, you'll be able to see just those ones that are applied and favorited by hitting that star icon. But if you did just want to go ahead and be able to view all your companies, turning off your label, and that's then going to bring you back to all your companies available. Now what we'll go through and check out is the director live check. So if we simply head into a company, in this case we'll go ahead and choose CAS 360 004 Limited. This is going to bring you through to the company details and information that we've got on hand for said company. So within your general details, it's got all of your general details as per company dates, authorized agent, company contacts, and email associated with it as such. The likes of the addresses, it's going to have all your addresses that are currently on hand. And as we can see here, we've got a wee green tick or passed icon, and that's simply showing you that this has passed the check with what you've got in CAS 360 up against company's office, and that is also applied to your office's screen. So we can see it was just running that check there, and now that this has gone ahead and applied the green tick or pass mark to let you know all is matching up and correct. Now what we will be running through is one of the more common transactions or happenings at a firm, and that is how you can go ahead and appoint a director. So in this case, what we will look to do is simply hit the Add Officer tab. We will then be able to pencil in the contact that we are looking to go ahead and set up as a director in this case. I do have the one I'm going to be looking to set up in this case, but if you haven't already got them as a contact within CAS 360, let's say they're a brand new contact that isn't associated with any company or anything yet, you will simply be able to hit that click to add new button. And then this is actually going to proceed to take you through in setting up a new contact alongside some of the key details required, and you'll be able to hit save, and they will then be available for you to use moving forward. However, in this case, I'm just going to be using our contact of Ronald Lopez. It then pulls up a quick little snapshot of their current information, as well as birth details and address. We can then proceed to choose what position we would like to appoint them as, whether it be director, secretary, both. In this case, I would choose director, and then we can see what date we're going to be looking to appoint that one there. And if we wanted to add in any notes, you can simply type in those ones using that free text box available. And once we hit save, this is then going to trigger that CAS 360 workflow once again. So we can see that the print button is toggled on, and we've now got the ability to prepare forms for said change. Once again, it's referenced in the top left hand corner that we are appointing Ronald Lopez as a company director on said date. CAS 360 has once again got a whole range of awesome documents for you to then use and share with your client for this one, as well as the likes of the company's office and required forms, which is the consent and certificate of director, or form 9. And if you want to preview that one, you'll simply be able to go ahead and click on it, and we can see that there is the company's office document that has now been automatically populated with all the required information. So it's got the director's name, his address, the date of appointment, and then the authorized agent section down the bottom as well. Nice and helpful, and it's going to save time obviously, because you're not going to need to be manually preparing any of these documents. But on top of that, we do have a few other documents that might be helpful or your client wishes to have on hand as well, such as the company change summary, director's minutes or resolution. And at CAS 360 will also go ahead and prepare a register of officers as well. So if you go ahead and click on that one there, we can see we have our previous directors or current directors currently listed on there, as well as Ronald Lopez now being set up to be included on that as well. Now, some of the more common ones that I do hear a lot of usage around is especially the director's minutes or resolution. We go ahead and click on that one, we can preview that, and here we can see that we've got that up as the current director's meeting minutes, and it does just have that one signing line for Bart and Stout to sign off on. However, if you wanted to go ahead and change that over to a resolution, hitting that options button, you'll be able to then go ahead and click resolution, and then this is going to then pull through with a signing line for all directors. Once again, if you had different templates, you'll be able to choose to have those applied, and alongside a few different settings you can have applied to this document. Once done, hitting save. Now when we go ahead and take a look at the director's minutes or resolution, we can see that we've got a signing line for all of those directors now involved. Same can also be done on your shareholders minutes or resolution. You're simply changing that one over from the document type, minutes or resolution, depending on what you wish to have. You also have the option to change over the chairperson, so if you wanted it to be a specific person or if you wanted it to be changed over, you will be able to have that option in there, alongside a few other different settings that you're able to use for said document. Do just remember, however, to hit that save button to make sure those changes are applied. And once you're happy with that, you'll be able to then send those off or download those as per. Now in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose to download, let's say, just these 3 documents here. We can go ahead and hit download. And this has then gone ahead and downloaded just those 3 documents for us. So we can see there's that company change summary, form 9 as per company's office, and then we've got our director's resolution that we adjusted as well. So downloading it is especially going to be applicable if you've got those directors at your firm and you're wanting them to sign off on that one physically, Or let's say they're just not someone that uses digital signing and they're in your office at that time, that's going to be especially helpful too. But if you wanted to send that off for digital signing, simply doing so via that send all button. Now, straight away, we're actually getting a notification that, hey, this director does not exist in company's office register. So once again, that live check is continuously being performed, and it's only once we go ahead and file that through to company's office will that then be updated to show the passed icon, meaning all adds up and is correct as per. Now, if you were wanting to go ahead and perhaps process a different type of change. Another common one that happens across firms is you might end up with a director resignation. So if you were looking to do a director resignation, what you could look to do is come to the director in said company, and just underneath their status area, you will be able to change that over from appointed to resigned. You do have a few other settings there as well, such as removed and deceased, but in this case we'll just go through the likes of a director resignation process. We'll then be able to hit that green tick box to reference. Yep, we're happy with this one. That is the change and documents we're going to be looking to prepare, and it's then going to go and kick off once again into the CAS 360 workflow of preparing the documents for said change. So once again, reference in the top left-hand corner what type of change that we are preparing. CAS 360 has a range of different documents once again for this one. But now if we go ahead and perhaps take a look at the company change summary, this is then going to go ahead and reference that the date of cessation for Clifford Richard being to date and all the other information for this as per. Now, it's also even gone as far to prepare a resignation letter, so it's just a nice little document that you may or may not want to include, and of course, just has a wee signing line of site director to help reference that he is no longer going to be a director of said company from this date. Once again, though, you can choose to toggle on or off any of these documents that you may or may not wish to include. And once done, we can choose to either download those or send those off to said client. Now in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and download these ones once again. And just like that, we can see that all those documents have been downloaded to my computer and are now there and available for me. Now, if you did ever need to perhaps re-prepare these documents, what you can choose to do is just simply toggle that print button on, and then we can see that the prepare forms and CAS 360 workflow has been re-triggered. So let's say perhaps Clifford's actually going to be resigning on a different date. We can go ahead and change those document dates over to be on a different date. And we're going to have that toggled on to have that date applied to all documents. Once done, we'll be able to go ahead and hit save. And this time around, when we go ahead and check out the company change summary, we can see that that is going to be taking place on the 19th now. Otherwise, we'll also be able to once again download or send these off. So nice and easy if you need to re-prepare any documents, depending on what you might be looking to do. Now, what you can also see is there is the options button as well. So if that's not actually going to be taking place today, you'll also be able to set that cessation date out as per. Once done, you'll be able to then go ahead and hit save, and then that will all be sorted as per. So that's going to give you a bit of an idea as to how you can go about processing some director changes as well as preparing forms for that and what type of forms are going to be prepared for that within CAS 360. What we'll then go ahead and check out next is the shareholders tab. So Once again, with that, we can see that when I bounced over to the shareholders tab, we can see it's actually doing the shareholder check just up the top there. And all the data that I've got on hand matches that of company's office. So once again, that's going to be really helpful of letting you know of any discrepancies or changes. And in this case, we'll go ahead and check out the shareholder screen. So here we can see that we've got our current shareholders that have been imported over from company's office, and it's showing that the balance is that data that we've brought over from the company's office, number of shares, and we can even hover over the information icon for that to see the share value, total amount paid, and a whole bunch of other helpful information related to said share transaction. On the left hand side, you will also see you've got a nice little visual chart. So for those that like to see this in a visual format, you will be able to have that broken down. It even goes as far as to show you the percentage of said shareholders as well, and the total number of shares and amount paid. Can also choose to adjust this. So if you wanted to just view the current shareholders, be able to choose to toggle those ones on and off. And of course, if you're wanting to see that in the extensive shareholding format, you will also be able to do so as well. However, I do only have these as our current shareholders, so it's not going to be showing anything else at this stage, but it's especially helpful once you've done a whole bunch of share transactions and you might have had any changes within there. Do be sure to check those ones out too. Now let's go ahead and prepare a share transaction. In this case, we're going to be doing a share issue. So simply heading over to the transaction button, and we're going to be doing a share issue in this case. So in this case, we're going to be issuing shares to a new shareholder perhaps. Once again, picking on the example of Ronald Lopez. So I'm going to ask you if perhaps these shares are beneficially held or not. If there is going to be a beneficial owner, you will be able to go ahead and perhaps type in said person's name and then go ahead and select them as per. However, in this case, I'm just going to proceed to choose to not have these as beneficially held shares. We can then go ahead and choose the share type for this next. So you do actually have a range of shares that CAS 360 has on hand automatically. If you simply type shares, you'll then be able to see that you've got different values, and this is listing out all our ordinary shares, but also a few other classes of shares as well. But if you did actually need to perhaps set up something else, you will be able to do so simply by typing in, seeing if it's available or not. If not, you can choose to go ahead and click to add in a new share type, which then lets you set up the name for it, what that share class might be. And once again, you can see we've got a range of share classes available there. In this case, I'll just go ahead and choose perhaps A class ordinary shares, what currency you might be wanting to have that listed out in, the amount paid, as well as the amount unpaid. Once done with that, we'll simply go ahead and hit save, and you'll then have that share type available moving forward. In this case, though, I'm just going to run the $1 ordinary shares, and we'll just go with a share allotment of perhaps, or share issue of, let's say, maybe 10 shares. Can also adjust the consideration type, so we do have a whole range of different options there as well. Just going to be leaving it as cash in this case. And if we've got any premium or premium unpaid or paid, you will be able to add that information in there as well. Now the meeting status is just going to be referring to the document within CAS 360 that it's going to prepare it for. But otherwise you'll just be able to leave it as per. If you wanted to attach any notes, once again a wee note box for you to do so. And just underneath that we've actually got the certificate details. So CAS 360 is really clever in the system within the fact that it's actually automatically going to update the certificate details based on the transaction you've prepared. So the next one I've prepared is going to end up being certificate number 2, and here we can see that as this is the first transaction for this, it's gone ahead and listed it out as certificate number 1. You can also add in the location and any unique numbers you might wish to, if that's applicable. And of course, if you need to change over the certificate type, but in this case, just leaving it as transaction for said share issue. Once done, go ahead and hit save. We can see that that has now added Ronald Lopez to our shareholders screen to actually advise us that, hey, we've actually got a mismatch with company's office, because that live check is once again running to make sure everything is matching at all times. So until I go ahead and file that one through to company's office, it is actually pointing that out. But if we refer to our left hand side, we can also now see that our pie graph has been updated. Ronald Lopez has got his own percentage listing there, and total share amount and amount paid has also increased too. Now we can go ahead and prepare the CAS 360 workflow and documents for this by hitting that Prepare Forms button. Once again, the system's going to cleverly automate all the different documents that you may or may not wish to have included. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose to have the shareholders' consent, minutes, just largely selecting all of them. We can also see that change that's been in the process of being set up in the left-hand side once again. And if we go ahead and take a look at perhaps the shareholders' minutes or resolution, so I'm going to list out all the details as well as the date and the new shareholder that is being issued shares. And if we wanted to change that over from a minutes to resolution, simply doing so through that options button. And we can also see that there is a share certificate here for Ronald Lopez alongside another director to sign off on. And of course, it's automatically populated with the company information, listed out certificate number, and a whole bunch of relevant and key information for the share certificate too. Now, if we take a look at the register of shareholders, you can see that we had the balances for those ones that we already had listed there. Now that we've issued some shares to Ronald Lopez, he is now also automatically added and updated within said share register too. Once we're done with that, we can choose to once again either send them off to our client for signing by these directors or downloading them once again in the example of having that client or those directors and shareholders in-house with yourself, and you'll then be able to go ahead and upload that back in, or once you've got that digital signed copy, go ahead and file that through to company's office to reflect as per. Great, so that's going to give you a bit of an idea as to how you can go about a share issue. Another common share transaction is the likes of a share transfer from one shareholder to another. So simply head back to that transaction section, choose to check out the share transfer, and then we'll be able to go ahead and start working on said transaction. So in this case, it's listed out our current shareholders we've got on hand there. Just going to go ahead and pick Alexia Reed for this example, and we'll be doing a transfer over to Ronald Lopez. Once again, simply toggling on if it is beneficially held or not. In this case, leaving it as per. And if we actually go ahead and try to, let's say, transfer over 10 shares, oh, CAS 360 is actually going to point out to you that the number of shares cannot exceed 7 because Alexia doesn't actually have any more shares than 7. So the system is also going to apply some safety measures in that case. So you're not actually going to be able to over allocate shares within a share transaction from one shareholder to another. So we'll go ahead and update that to reflect a little bit better. Now just going ahead to choose 5. And we can now see that within the certificate details, this is updated to number 2 for the transferor over to the transferee, now being certificate number 3. Once we're happy with all of that, hit save, and then we can see that this is now preparing a transaction for these two shareholders, and we can go ahead and prepare the forms as per. Now, a nifty little feature I might point out, especially let's say if you've got any new staff or perhaps an intern at the firm, and you'd actually like this to go out to the client via email, but you actually want to have it reviewed by maybe a senior staff member or senior accountant before it actually does go out, just to make sure everything's been done correctly and is set up the way that the firm prefers it to be. Can actually choose to use this little toggle here which says flag documents to be reviewed. If you go ahead and toggle that one on, you can then actually put in a reviewer. So in this case, we can go ahead and put in who that reviewer might be. Let's say Andy Tam is one of our senior accountants, or is the person in charge of helping the intern with transactions and preparing documents, but wants them to be checked before they do make it out. You'll be able to add that reviewer in, and then once that one is being sent off, the reviewer will then actually get the chance to see said email alongside said documents, as well as being able to confirm whether or not they would like to accept those changes. If they do, it will then go ahead and make its way out to the client. Or if they notice that there's actually something that needs to be adjusted, some of the wording within the email or particular document for said client isn't typically included, they will be able to reject it. Even this won't actually make it out to the client just yet. So that's a really helpful option, and that's just once again used via that flag documents to be reviewed section, simply toggling it on or off to have it included. And you can even go ahead and add a note to the reviewer. So perhaps please check his first time setting up for said client, as an example, whatever it may be, of course. Even that way, the reviewer will also see that note when they're checking those documents out. Awesome. So that gives you a bit of an idea on the share issue, share transfer process. And once again, if we look at the left-hand side, we can see that the shares have once again been reflected for Ronald Lopez to now be included as 50%, and Alexia's shares have gone down with that percentage now being reflected as per as well. Now, one of the last share transactions that I'd like to just quickly go through with yourself is how you can go ahead and do a joint shareholder share issue. This is another one that I do commonly come across. Simply heading through to the transaction button, hitting share issue, we can then go ahead and set that up for a joint member. So let's say I'm wanting to once again pick on Alexia Reed and Ronald Lopez. I can simply go ahead and choose them there. Do once again remember that if it's going to be a new contact or someone that isn't there, you can simply use that click plus to add new button, and that's then going to be able to go ahead and let you choose to set up a new joint member, and then you'll be able to simply go ahead and search for said representatives, and they will then be added in, and you can hit save, and that will then be applied and be able to be chosen within this moving forward. But in our example today, I'm just going to keep picking on Alexia Reed and Ronald Lopez, and then it's going to take you through that standard workflow, beneficially owned or not, number of shares, and what share type. Might actually change it over this time. Let's go with some $5 fully paid shares, number of shares, and everything else. And this time round, we can see certificate details once again updated to be certificate number 4. Once you're happy with all of that, hitting save. And as per usual, this is then going to take us through to prepare forms for said share issue of the joint members. And when we go ahead and take a look at the register of shareholders, we can now see that Alexia Reed and Ronald Lopez have been added to the register. And you've also got the other share transactions that were done from just before, now also showing up underneath Ronald Lopez for those share transfers we did directly to him as well. As per usual, you either choose to send that off or download those ones as per. And what you might even want to check out, just pointing out some other helpful features within here. Let's say that you know that this is a client which might take a while to get back to you, and you're needing to try get this done before the month's end or before a busy period, or let's say you just know that those shareholders or directors might be heading away. What you will always see is there are these arrows just listed next to the download and send all button. If you go ahead and click that, you can actually choose to send these off and set up automatic document reminders. So if you go ahead and click that button there, this is then going to obviously take us through to the preview screen of the email that's going to be making its way out to said client. And just after that, you will then have the opportunity to set up the document reminders for said documents. So this is going to be really helpful, especially if you know you're constantly chasing out with a particular client, and this can be applied to any of those shared or transactions done within CAS 360, so it might be particularly helpful on annual returns or director appointments, whatever it may be, you'll always see that arrow there. And here we can see that we are able to set up the document reminders. If you've got any different templates applicable, you'll be able to do so. And you can even choose to adjust what time it's making its way out. And you can even go as far as adding up to, I believe, six reminders, all at different dates, of course. So the first one's going to be going out tomorrow. So it's not just something that happens, let's say, an hour from now, because that might be a little bit frustrating for your client. But if it hasn't been returned by tomorrow 9 a.m., this one is then going to make its way out. Second reminder will then make its way out 3 days later from then. Third reminder, another 3 days after that. Same with the fourth, fifth, and sixth. So every 3 days it'll look to send out a reminder. And once you're happy with all of those there, you'd simply hit save. And then that one will then be applied and continue to act in the background. And that one will only stop once you've gotten those documents back and you've updated or lodged those through to company's office, or mark that off as the document status to be manually filed in case the client has gone ahead and done it themselves on company's office perhaps. Awesome. So we've covered quite a few different share scenarios within CAS 360 here. I do hope these give you a little bit more confidence around using the shareholder screen especially. And if there's anything you're not too sure or wanting to check out a particular contact, you can also see that you can always use that information icon to check that contact out and even go directly to said contact. And for any of the relevant share information, simply doing so on the share side. But in that case, what I might like to do is we'll go ahead and take a little bit of tea break because I know we've gone through quite a bit of information. So this might be a nice time to go ahead, grab a glass of water, stretch your legs, and yeah, let us go ahead and resume this in about 10 minutes. So we will be resuming at 11:29 and look forward to seeing you all in 10 minutes. Wonderful. So we'll be getting back into it in just about a minute or so. Do hope that everybody managed to stretch their legs or grab a quick cup of tea. Um, and yeah, next sections we'll be covering a whole bunch of helpful different core functions within the software, and namely what we'll be doing is kicking that off with the likes of multi-company changes. So heading back into CAS 360, if you're looking to make a change across multiple companies or a change that's going to affect multiple companies, what you can do is heading through to the multiple company changes screen. Within here, this is going to be a really helpful area of CAS 360. So in the example of, let's say we are looking to do a director appointment, and it's someone that's actually going to be listed across multiple companies, we can go ahead and hit new change. Just underneath company changes, we can see there is the officer change. Go ahead and click that. Once again, picking on our favorite example of Ronald Lopez. Bearing in mind, you can also choose any other contacts you've got or set them up if it's a new one perhaps. Choosing what position they're going to be set up as. In this case, we'll choose director, and the resolution date is automatically going to be set through to today, but if you need to adjust that, you do have the option to do so. And once done, proceeding through to hit next, and we can then go ahead and see that we've got all our companies loaded up in front of us. So let's say perhaps he is going to be listed up against RMW Limited, as well as maybe Fireside, for example. And you can also choose to search if you did have a particular company in mind, and then that's going to narrow that list down as per as well. And once we're happy with that, we can go ahead and hit proceed. Now we can see that this has then gone ahead and set that up for those two companies. So Ronald Lopez is going to be appointed as a director as of said date. And we can go ahead and then hit prepare forms. CAS 360 will then automatically go ahead and prepare those forms for said change. Once again, for a director appointment, it's got the company's office director form 9 on hand, which is awesome. It's going to be all automatically populated, just as all the other documents will be. And you've got all that available. So you can simply then go ahead and send that off or download it as per. So super easy to be able to do so, literally within the click of a few buttons. And the same is going to be applied to RMW Limited, where we can then go ahead and do the exact same thing. So you're not always having to go into each company and set this up as per. You can just simply do this within the multiple changes screen, and that can be applied to as many companies as you're needing that change to take place for. Now for the next example, we can go ahead and perhaps check out the likes of a contact address change. So you can see you do have a few different options listed under here. In this case, we'll check out the contact address change. Simply clicking on that option there, and picking on, let's say, Alexia Reed in this case. It's going to pull up with their current address that they are listed at. And if we go ahead and then put in a new address, this is based off of Google Maps, these addresses as well. So you will typically be able to find most of the addresses you're looking for. But for whatever reason, if you did need to add in a different one, you've once again always got the option to add a new one in. And that's then going to proceed to allow you to set up a new address as per. Now, what is really clever about this is you will also have these two toggles available. So if you want to have that also applied where the company's address for service is the same, it's going to pick that up and let you know if there is any companies where their address for service is that 87 Momorangi Crescent in Christchurch. However, in this case, we can see that none were picked up. If it was, however, you'd simply choose to have that toggled on and it would make that change also for that company. However, your next one is whether or not you'd like that change to be applied to other contacts with the same address. So here we can see one contact was found. Oh, Sarah Reed. So let's say it's Alexia's sister, and actually, yes, they are actually going to be moving address because they both live at the same house. You can go ahead and toggle that one on, and then that's also going to go ahead and factor that address change in for said contact as well. This is especially quite common for any mum and dad businesses as well, as you typically might have um, both people living at the one house or one address, and that's typically going to be quite a common one people might see. Same with the companies with business address is also the same. If you got a company, family company that operates out of the one area and perhaps has the accommodation or living areas within the same premises, then you'll be able to pick up on all of that within the one go. And once we're happy with that, we can hit proceed as per usual. This is then going to take us through, but it's also going to let you know that the below contact is now also going to be updated. However, no forms are required for this contact in particular. But we can now see that Alexia Reed has had her self come through, and so that we can see that where she is listed as a secretary for this company as well, it's also picked up on that, and it's going to be changing her address over to the new one that we've got listed here. Otherwise pointing out that for RMW Limited, she is listed as a shareholder, and as well as CAS 360004 Limited, she is also listed as a shareholder too. So another helpful piece is obviously if you've got a whole bunch of changes applicable for the one company, let's say RMW Limited, where we've appointed Ronald Lopez as a director, and then we've also got another shareholder who's changing address, you'll be able to do all of those. And then when you go ahead and hit prepare forms, this is then automatically going to pull through with both of those changes. So you've got Alexia's address change taking place, as well as the officer change that's taking place. And then from within here, CAS 360's got all the available documents with us being able to preview that, let's say in the company change summary. So you can see there's been the appointment of Ronald Lopez. And then we can also see there has been a address change for Alexia taking place from X address over to the new address. So that's all going to be really helpful, of course, but we'll just exit out this screen for now. But as per, if you're wanting to send them off or download, you've always got that option as well. And let's say if you've decided to download these to give to your client in person because they're with you in the office at the time, as mentioned, you do have that arrow next to either the download or send all option. You can actually choose to set up automatic document reminders for even documents that have been downloaded. And the example of if you've got a client that likes to pop into the office, he'll advise you of the change, you'll then process these, you'll give him the forms to take home and sign, but he typically takes a couple of weeks to sign these and get this back to you. At least this way you're going to be able to send out those emails, and it's automatically going to be checking up with him until he gets those back to you as well. Otherwise, if we just jump out of this one here, what I would also like to point out to you is if you've got any changes that are yet to be completed. So we can see under Superstars Pro Limited, for Alexia Reed, there's actually two other changes that have been picked up. So the company's registered office address has been updated, and there's also a share issue that's been done actually last month that hasn't been completed yet. You can choose to toggle that on. That's then going to pick up all of those in the one go. And now when we go ahead and prepare our forms, we can see that this is going to go ahead and process that for all three of those different transactions and changes taking place. Hence why now we've got the issue journal as well as the share certificate and application for shares taking place. Is because we can see that there is the share issue for Anthony Lee. And of course, within our company change summary, we'll then see the company address change reflected for both Alexia and the registered office as well. So nice and helpful, and definitely suggest you start utilizing the multiple company changes screen, as it's going to hopefully save you a whole lot of time with various different types of changes and transactions that might affect multiple companies. Otherwise, it is even just a great place to be able to do your changes, even if it's not going to affect multiple companies, because it's going to allow you to sort of put a bit of a safety measure into the fact that if it will, it'll pick up on it. If not, you know that at least that way you're just processing it for that one there as per. Now, next to that, I think we'll go ahead and check out the company address changes. So as you can see, we've got those three different sections there. So you've got a range of different address, as well as company changes. You can look to put forward and prepare and process those within CAS 360. But the next one we'll go ahead and walk through is the address for service. So if we're making a change to address for service, we'll simply select that option there. And let's say, for example, I'm wanting to change the address for CAS 360 004 Limited. It's going to go ahead and show me what the current one is. Go ahead and put in a new address for that. In this case, just choosing that address there. Now, the resolution date is also put forward 5 days in the future because it's got to be a minimum of 5 days in the future as per company's office requirements. So at least you'll see that one reflected straight off the bat and won't need to put that forward. But you can adjust that to be even more further forward if necessary as well. Now, the great thing is, once again, with these toggles is you also see for the likes of a company address change, you can actually have it applied if there's other company addresses where that change is also similar. So if you need to have that applied to that company for the address for communication, their meeting address, you can simply choose to toggle those on, and it's going to update all of those addresses over to the new one for this company. Now, if you've got other companies where it might also have the same address for service, in this case we can see that RMW Limited actually has the same address for service. You can choose to toggle that on, and then it's going to go ahead and pick that up for RMW Limited as well and add that to your changes screen available. And last but not least, you've also got the ability to have that change applied to other contacts with the same address. However, we can see that we haven't got anything picking that one up. So in this case, we can leave that as per. Once we proceed through, we can now see that all those changes have been popped underneath each company in which it's applicable for. So super easy to do so, really helpful, especially making changes across so many companies. And hopefully this is going to give you a few more insights as to some of the other core features you can utilize moving forward. Now that brings us to a wrap on the multiple changes screen here, and now we'll go ahead and check out the documents screen a little bit further. So the documents screen is obviously one of the core aspects of where you're going to be looking to file your company transactions through to company's office to have that then updated. This covers everything from your annual returns through to your director appointments, and you can even see all of this as what you've gone ahead and prepared within CAS 360 as listed on this main screen there. You did actually have a range of filters on the left hand side that I did mention most screens have. So let's say if we were trying to look for just annual returns, simply clicking on that one to view those ones there. If we wanted to check out some that have been sent out to clients but yet to be signed. And the same also applies for digital signing if we're wanting to see what has been digitally sent off but is yet to be returned to us and lodged. And with this one here, we can see that CAS 360004 for that share issue, and it's got a nice little bell icon. That is simply advising that we've actually got those automated document reminders applied. So if you're wanting to quickly check whether or not something has that one there, you'll simply see that applied as a blue bell icon if you've set up those automatic document reminders for that transaction, or if you've got them set up in general, which I'll reference a little bit later as well. Now, if we go ahead and we are wanting to perhaps update a document status. So if we're having a look at this one here, so for Fireside Masters, where there was a company address update, it's been sent to the client for digital signing, but let's just say they've actually just called through and advised you, or you've noticed within the health check and you've called them, they've gone ahead and updated this manually themselves on company's office. You would have the opportunity to be able to update and reflect this accordingly by either clicking on this status here and then changing that over and hitting save, or using the options button. You can choose to hit edit, and then you can change that document status over to perhaps manually filed. You can even change that over to today's date, and that is now set as per. And that way, especially if you had any document reminders on that one there, those would cease to stop because that one's now been updated. And we can also keep our records perfectly updated and know that, hey, this isn't something I'm no longer needing to follow up on, as the client's manually filed that as per. Now, some other pieces around that options button that you've got next to each of the companies there, you will also see that you've got the attachment section. So if you were wanting to attach an additional document, you will see that you've got the drag and drop area up the top, or you can hit browse files to then go ahead and choose a local document that you might have. So this is especially going to be applicable if you've sent something off for manual signing, or non-digital signing, that is. They've emailed you that copy. You can then go ahead and reattach that. And then you'll also have that all in the one place as well. Now, what you can also do is, let's say you've sent something off to a client and you forgot to add document reminders, or it's suddenly something that is starting to become quite urgent. What you can also do is go ahead and hit the options button and send a document reminder by hitting that button there. And this is then going to choose who that's going out to. In that case, it's going to be said person there. You can even go ahead and adjust that template. Maybe you've got an urgent template you've set up to really help reinforce that you're needing to get this back as soon as possible. And what's especially helpful is you can choose to toggle on if you'd like to include the documents that were initially sent through to them. We can see there is a wee status button that does actually advise that, hey, this message was sent to a recipient. But in case you're needing to, once again, resend a wee reminder through to the client, and you've also attached the documents so they're right there for them to pick up and sign off on, or via digital signing, that is, it's going to make life a whole lot easier. You can then proceed to send that one through. And once again, this will take us through to our email preview screen where we can see what that one's going to look like. And once happy, hit send to do so. The same also applies if you're looking to add automatic document reminders. You can simply set that one up on it if suddenly it's something that is requiring you to have automatic follow-up on it, and that option is there as well. So not only are you able to set up automatic document reminders during your document production, you can also afterwards if perhaps you've forgotten or you wanted to add that in afterwards. Now you do also have the ability to view the document history, so this is especially helpful for something that is being digitally catered. So with the likes of, let's say if we check out Fireside Masters Director Appointment, we can go options, history. We can see that that document was prepared by myself on said date, at said time, and then sent off to said client. However, for whatever reason, the client is advising that he's actually not received it yet, you will simply be able to do, or he has actually gone ahead and manually filed that one. You can go ahead and update that status to reflect it, or perhaps you're still waiting to hear from him, though you know he's received it. You can go ahead and send him a wee document reminder for it. So plenty of options, and it's really going to help you update and adjust anything that might need any changes there. And of course, being able to view the document history is especially helpful, perhaps for the likes of the manually filed ones as well, where you're wanting to see how long something takes. If it starts approaching a particular time frame, you might know that this client, or is worth checking in with this client in case they have gone ahead and done that themselves. Now, one thing I would like to especially point out is how you can go about and isolate a document. I know this is going to be quite helpful for those that use digital signing, where there is the need to upload the Form 9 or the mandatory director form there. What you can do is actually, I'll find a relevant example where we can actually see the signature for it. Set to the um, go ahead and look at the nonetheless, I should be able to work with this one here. So I was just going to see if I had done one recently, but I might not have. Nonetheless, you're just simply heading to options, attachments, and we can see that there is our Form 9 or director appointment. Once we've actually gotten the digital signed copy back, it will reference that there is a digital signed copy for it. We can go ahead and view that document there, but because it might be in a bundle, if you were wanting to isolate a document, you can simply choose the print button. From here, just underneath pages, you would then be able to choose which page it is that you are looking to isolate. So if this was listed out in perhaps a bundle of 5 different documents and was listed as the last document, you'd simply choose the 5th document, and that will go ahead and isolate just the one you are looking to upload and only save as that one. Once you're done with that, you'll be able to go ahead and hit save, and then you'll have an isolated copy of just that document. Of course, in your example, it'll be signed, and then you'll be able to simply upload that one in, or simply choosing to do so under that upload button there. You'll be able to add that in here for that director appointment. Just be sure to hit save as well. Awesome. So that's going to give you a hopefully better idea on the document screen and how you can go ahead and adjust as well as review history for different documents, and being able to check out some of your filters on the left hand side if you're working on something in particular, of course. Um, what I would like to go ahead and check out next is our trust module. So our trust screen can be found on the left hand side there, simply just hitting that option there. So this is our trust screen and trust functions available within CAS 360. Now it is a completely free add-on, so I do highly suggest you make the most of this, because it doesn't matter if you've only got 100 companies, if you've got 1,000 trusts, there's not going to be any change in your subscription pricing. And just like the other workflows we've seen earlier today, CAS 360 is going to help prepare the trust documents for different type of trust transactions you might be looking to do, which I will be covering today as well. Though these aren't filed through to Companies Office, they are nonetheless really helpful for you to have on hand, and we'll just really go ahead and expand the service you can offer to your own clients as per. So to kick that one off there, what you will see on the left-hand side is you've got the trust import template. So this is essentially an Excel sheet that lists out a whole bunch of key information that if you're able to go ahead and then fill in, such as the likes of the trust name, trust formation date, as well as any trust relationships, beneficiaries, or anything similar to that, you will then be able to actually pass that over to our support team or myself once completed, and we will actually go ahead and upload those trusts into your license. So if it isn't something you're already utilizing and you are wanting to, because you do have a whole bunch of trusts on hand that you would like to start checking this out for, then you'll simply be able to download that trust import template, fill that one in, pass that back to myself or our support team, and then we can go ahead and upload that to your CAS 360 license for you to then start utilizing. And similar to our other screens, we do have a range of filters on the left hand side. So if you're just looking to do some work for some of your family trusts, your unit trusts, you will have those options available too. Now, there is a compliance workflow available, so you can attach identity documents against individuals within there. And if you've got any notifications or anything coming up, then they will appear there as well. So very similar to what you saw in the company screen. No matter what, whether you've got trustees with passports or driver's license or other identity documents attached next to them, this is going to help make sure you're able to keep up to date and ensure that the compliance around their identity is always up to date as per. Now let's go ahead and actually check out how you can add a trust in some of those trust documents that are prepared for some different types of transactions. If we're looking to add in a new trust, you can also choose to use this new trust button. This is then going to go ahead and proceed to fill it out with the necessary details. In this case, we'll choose New Zealand as our jurisdiction. You do just see a few different ones as we do operate across all of those other jurisdictions as well, but for today's session, I'll keep it nice and local. I have actually got a trust I'm going to be using here, but once again, if it isn't already set up, you can simply type it in, see if it is available. If not, you'll go ahead and click the Add New button, and then you'll be able to set up a new trust contact so that this can then be pulled through and worked moving forward within CAS 360. However, in this example, I do have one I've set up previously, so we'll go ahead and set up a family trust. But as you see, there's a range of different options you've got available on hand. Adding in the trust formation date there, and we'll go ahead and add in a meeting address. Now, it does actually have the option to list whether the trustee is a company managed in CAS 360. If it is, you'll be able to go ahead and search for it, and you'll be able to see that one there. However, if not, and it's actually an individual, you will be able to go ahead and also search for said person, and they should then appear within there for you to be able to choose as that trustee. You will have the option to be able to set up the trustee appointed date, and if you actually wanted to apply a trust label, you can also do so. But once you're happy with that, proceed and hit save. You've then gone ahead and added in your first family trust, and clicking into that is then going to be able to bring you into a screen similar to that we have for the companies, but this time tailored to trust this time round. So we can see that we've got the general trust details. And actually, one thing I would like to point out is you do have the ability to upload the trust deed, because I do know that is especially helpful. Any other details you might want to add in, as well as tax details for the trust. Any trust relationships, such as that trustee that we had set up initially with this trust. But if we're wanting to add in another one, or you can simply add that relationship by hitting that option there. We've got a range of different options available straight off the bat there. So let's say I was wanting to set up another trustee, and once again it's going to be another individual. Picking on Ronald Lopez once again. It's then automatically pulled that through as today. Hitting save. And now we can see that this has actually gone ahead and prepared the forms for this. So now we've got a trustees minutes and resolution, which we can either flick between being a minute or resolution, of course. And we can see that it's got the core details for that one, with Ronald Lopez being appointed as of today as a trustee. Top of that, you've also got your register of trust relationships, which has now been updated to include Ronald as well. And of course, that will continue to be updated as you add in any others within there. Now, you do have a register of trust events and a cover letter, and of course, the ability to update the template or what that document looks like using that options button, and whether or not, let's say, for some of the registers you wanted to include certain settings such as historical data for the trust relationships or not. Once done with that, you'll then be able to download that or send off to your client once again. But in this case, we'll just quickly jump out of here, and what we might do is we'll go ahead and actually look at adding in a trust acquisition, which can be found just over there. And of course, if you've got any beneficiaries, you will be able to add them in as well, but just focus on the trust events in this scenario today. Simply adding in the event, you'll then be able to see you've got a couple of options there. So you've got, let's say, a trust acquisition, or if there's a loan or any other type of transaction, you'll be able to pick those out from amongst them. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and perhaps we'll say that this trust has acquired some real estate. Go and say family home perhaps. Go ahead and put that value at a nice high range. Then you'll also be able to set up the details of said acquisition as well. So we'll go settled into the trust, but you have a few different options there. Any notes you might want to add. Once you hit save, you'll then actually be presented with a nice screen for your trust events and acquisitions, which actually also breaks it down if you've got any liabilities, loans, income, expenses, or any other items you might have listed within there. And for that trust acquisition, we've just loaded in for that family home of $10 million. We can then go ahead and actually prepare the forms for this. And now when we go ahead and look at the register of trust events, that's then got that family home acquisition listed there too. Now, jumping back to our event screen here, you do also have the ability to actually filter whether you are just wanting to look at your assets, and that's current sold, liabilities, paid and outstanding, any loans you might have, as well as any of those other transactions as well, once you've got them loaded in, of course. Now, CAS 360 is also quite clever little software, because now if we take a look and have a nosy at the event transactions available, we can actually see that there are a whole lot more different options on hand. So you can actually now see that there is the ability to do an asset sale, asset capital addition, or revaluation, and you will also be able to expand on the gift and liability transactions now as well, because you wouldn't be able to repay a loan if there wasn't a loan to the trust initially added, and vice versa for the asset acquisitions. You wouldn't be able to sell an asset off if there hasn't been an asset already recorded within there first. Great. So that's going to give you a bit more of an idea around the trust events that can be done, as well as the documents prepared for it. very similar workflow throughout the whole process of CAS 360, so nice and straightforward as per. And of course, what I would like to point out to you next is some of our reports. So we do have a range of reports available on hand. To check those out, you'll just simply want to head over to report screen. Now I'm just going to list out sort of some of the more common reports that firms are using, but you are welcome to obviously check out all the other ones available on hand. We are constantly adding and updating in new reports that might be of help, and you can see that this is reflected with that little new icon. So we've recently added in the register of seal entries, same with the likes of the trust registers. It's been a register of beneficiaries, and even some other helpful additions such as the Director ID report and the Identity Expiry report and verification listing option there too. So once again, if you've got any feedback as to a particular report you might think that would be applicable to the firms, do feel free to send that one through, as well as any other feedback around CAS 360 that you might like to see implemented if possible. Now, coming back to some of the commonly used reports, we do have the company listing report. So this is just going to essentially give you a great snapshot of a whole bunch of different information for a range of different companies. And you can choose to actually adjust these settings on the left hand side. So maybe you are just wanting to look at particular types of pieces of information, labels being especially a very helpful one. If you had a label applied to just a particular partner where he manages said companies and he wants a report on that, you will be able to do so. Same applies with the annual return period if you are wanting to check out what ones are happening later in the year that might have had some significant changes happen early in the year and you need to check over that. Whatever it may be, really, you will be able to go ahead and have those options adjusted. And then same with when the report settings, so the information that you'll be able to see in the report itself. So you might want it to show the previous name, you might not. Perhaps you want it to show the client number or the company reference number or not. Simply toggling it off to have that one not applied. And just bearing in mind there's only a maximum of 10 that can be applied, especially for the PDF download. Or maybe you don't want to see the labels that are applied, or maybe you do, or the manager that's there. You've got a whole lot of different options that are available. So I would suggest checking those ones out a little bit further, as you can definitely tailor this to your own liking, and you can go ahead and even save those settings so it's always applied every time you do so. Now in this case, I'm just going to leave it as per, selected that for all the companies, but if I wanted to just have that for a particular few, you can simply take off that sort of tick all box, and then that's going to deselect all of them. Or if you want to have it applied to all of them, you can do so, and we can export that out either as a PDF or Excel format. Just going to download that as a PDF example for today. And here we've then got the company listing report available, listing out all that information we had selected, such as the company number, company type, company status, whether they're a client or not, who the partner might be. Heaps of awesome information, even including the likes of the annual return last file date as well. And that's based off the one you've got in the company date section. Awesome. So moving on to another commonly used report, if you're wanting to get a, let's say, snapshot on a particular company, the company report is going to be quite helpful in that aspect. So let's say we're wanting to take a look into CAS 360-004. Once again, you've got a range of different options that you can choose to filter those by. Even if you're wanting to adjust the report settings to include particular items or not, we do have some of those advanced options available, whether or not we wanted to include the previous company addresses or just the current perhaps. Just going to leave it as per in this case. And we can go ahead and download that as a PDF or Word document. And if we take a look at that company report, This is then going to give us a really good breakdown on said company and all of its addresses that we've got on hand for it, whether there's any ultimate holding companies, its current directors, as well as the shareholdings and and any dividends set up for that. I've also got any company notes that you might have put on there. But another piece that's especially quite helpful if you're wanting to actually see how much work you might have done for a particular client or wanting to provide how much work you have done for a client within CAS 360 at least, you will also be able to reference that within the documents for CAS 360 004. That's the name of the company that we've downloaded this for. And we can see that these are all the different types of changes and transactions that we've gone ahead and prepared for this company, alongside all their dates and what that status of said document is as well. So super helpful, of course, especially for providing clients with a little bit more of an information and overview as to what you might have done for them over the year or last couple of years, especially. And I would suggest checking this one out should that be of use. Now, a couple of other really helpful reports just listed underneath your section here is the address usage report. So if you're actually trying to find out maybe whether you've got an address being used across multiple places or where this address is being used and who might be associated with it, you can simply search that up. And then there was that one I've used quite a few times today, which was 123 Queen Street, Auckland CBD. Selecting that there, adjusting any of your report settings to reflect what you might want to see or might not want to see. You can go ahead and then download that. In this case, I'm just going to set that up as a PDF so we can quickly view it as per. And now I can see that this address is being used by which entities and for what type as well. It's also referencing that BGLiD has a recent contact residential address change where reflecting the multiple changes we were doing earlier today. So at least that's quite nice because you're going to be able to pick up on anything that is currently being done as well. Just jumping out of there, the next nifty little report I'd like to point out is the people group report. So simply listed underneath address usage. This is actually going to go ahead and give you a snapshot on an individual you might be wanting to find out a little bit further. So let's say we'll go ahead and check out Ronald Lopez, downloading that as a PDF report. And here it's going to show us a bit of a breakdown in regards to Ronald Lopez and his associated items. So we can see its general details, his current address, as well as his positions he is listed for, where we can see we appointed him for said company earlier today, as well as any shares he might have listed underneath him, and then if he's even been appointed as a trustee. Once again, referencing that trust we had done earlier today, April's Family Trust. And of course, if he's a representative of any joint members as per, and we can see that he's also listed there as well. So super helpful and definitely a report I'd recommend checking out a little bit further if you're trying to check out a contact or range of contacts and where they are being used and what they have going on underneath them. Very helpful to do so. Awesome. So that gives you a bit of an idea and rundown on some of the reports that are available. Do be sure to check those out, and I do hope they make your life a little bit easier, especially trying to track down a range of different information. What I am going to touch on next is our settings tab. So that's just the bottom left icon. From here, we can see that this is our agent settings or lodgement agent settings screen. This is going to show us our authorized agents that we have associated with a said firm. If we did need add another one, you can simply hit add agent, and it's going to take you through to that RealMe login process with Company's Office, where you can then integrate said authorized agent with Company's Office, CAS 360, and have that magic take place. So you can pull through all your information, companies, and start working through as per. Now, you would have heard me reference our document templates quite a few times throughout this webinar. So I am finally getting into where you can access that, and that's just listed underneath your settings and document template options there. So this is where you'll be able to find all the different document templates that CAS 360 has on hand and will prepare for you based on the type of transaction you're doing. As you can see, there are a whole lot of different ones on hand, and they are super easy to customize and set up as per your own liking. So if you wanted to, you'd simply just click on the one that you are wanting to edit via the options button. You can then go ahead and download that, and that will download it as a Word document. You'll then be able to make the changes you wish to it, and once you've done so, you can go ahead and upload that back in. That's then going to go ahead and have that available there for you to use. So as we saw a little bit earlier today, oh, it's just loaded through now. But anyway, as you can see, this is the standard default version that is available. We do always have a master copy. Once you've finished jazzing that up or adding logos in or any other brand, colors, firm preferences to it, adding that one in, you'll then have that available to use. This branded option one is the one I'd referenced a little bit earlier today. We can go ahead and download that. I can show you how that one is referenced. Exactly the one we had seen that I'd changed over earlier, where I'd made a few changes and looks quite nice and snazzy with a few different bits and pieces done, and quite nice and easy to do so. But yeah, you'll be able to do that as many times as you wish, simply just copying that master template. And if you're wanting to use one in particular over time, just setting that to default to be the one that's always picked up for said transaction. So yeah, do be sure to go ahead and check those out. As mentioned, just about all the documents are available to be customized. Of course, I wouldn't suggest customizing your mandatory or company's office forms such as the Form 2, Form 9, and there's one more that skipped to the top of my head. But yeah, I'd suggest leaving your company's office forms alone. But all the other ones, as per record keeping purposes, feel free to adjust and customize those as much as you wish. Now, moving on from there, you do have your email templates. So not only are your documents fully customizable, your emails are also able to be customized to your own liking, and simply clicking on it will then show you that email preview screen, similar to what we've gone through a few times today. And not only are the text codes, that's these pieces here you see, they're not only available for just documents, they're actually available for emails as well. So this is automatically going to pull through with said information, and is what CAS 360 uses to auto-populate the majority of your documents and emails, depending on what type of changes and such you're looking to make. But you can actually go as far as using these in the subject line as well. Now, if you're not familiar with where you can access that, you'd simply head through to your New Zealand help page, and listed underneath the CAS 360 dictionary, you'll see that you've got document template codes as well as email template codes. When you head on into those ones there, you can see that there is a range of different text codes that are available to be used, and it's even going to give you an idea as to what it will be pulling through if you're not 100% certain. And that's hopefully going to make life a whole lot easier, because you can essentially just set up the one email, one document template that can be used as many times across multiple different companies as needed too. Otherwise, you can just go ahead with the email templates and directly update that by clicking on it. Let's say we want that all in bold, or we want it in italics, and we want it underlined or moved, whatever it may be. Of course, I wouldn't suggest removing some of those key details, but as you do notice, you can definitely adjust this as you wish. And once you're happy with that, be sure to hit the update button, and that's then going to become updated and there for you to use. So here we can see I've set up a few different other options, such as a branded version, and I've even used the text code to show the annual return year in the likes of the wording up the top there. So it'll go ahead and say 2025 annual return, dear Ra, the 2025 annual return, etc., etc. Got the logo in there to make it all nice and pretty. And perhaps we might even set up an urgent one where you might want to add in some extra wording or put something in bold and create a little bit of urgency to it or whatever it may be. So you've got a few different versions available on hand as per. But yeah, as you can see, plenty of different email templates as per on the left-hand side. Do just want to point out your digital signing annual return is listed here, and your annual return for manual signing is also listed there. As they do use a different email sort of workflow, do be sure to note the differences between the two and what preference you use to work with or your clients choose to. Following on from that, you do also have your email settings as well. So you can actually also choose to purchase a custom email domain to send emails out from CAS 360 if you wish. This is an additional service, but otherwise we do also provide some other options. So if you're wanting to use the username as the sender name, so in my case, if you're not too sure what the user's name is, you can hover your mouse over the person icon on the top right. That's the current user you logged in as or yourself, and we can see that it would be Ra Williams. So in the sender name of the email, it would say Ra Williams. However, it would still be coming from the no reply at cas360.co.nz email. But you can also update that. So if you wanted to update the sender name to perhaps something else, that'll then reflect that one in the sender name. So if we have that untoggled, it'll say accounting firm limited instead. And another wee toggle underneath that is whether you'd like to use the username as a reply to address. So if it is toggled on, it'll use the username as a reply to address, and then it'll reply to my email address in which I've sent that email out from here. Otherwise, if we wanted that to go to a different email address, we can simply choose to add that one in, and then when clients reply to that email, it'll be coming back to this one instead. A few other helpful options is being able to automatically CC in partner contacts or manager contacts that you've got. Simply just toggling those on, and that will then be applied. Same with BCC as well. Even if you also wanted to CC in any of your billing contacts on annual return emails for electronic or digital signing, you've also got that option available there too. Do just remember though, once you've made any changes, always hit that save button so they are then actually applied. And the same with if you're ever wanting to check out your electronic signing settings, you will be able to see what ones you've got turned on and active, and what you might have set as the default. But you can always check these out a little bit further by heading to the BGL integrations section. And lastly, if you wanted to have automatic document reminders applied automatically, you can choose to have these toggled on. So this will be applied for annual returns, and we can simply just have that turned on, and then that's automatically going to be applied for any of our annual returns, and it's going to be sending to the signing contact or company directors and signing contact, or just the company directors as per, and you can even go ahead and choose which email that's coming from as well. Now that toggle that allows you to attach the documents is also there as well. And you can also choose to apply this to a particular label if you've set up labels for clients that perhaps take a little bit longer or need following up or whatever it may look like. You can always have that applied as specific as possible and how many reminders as per. Once again, just be sure to hit save once you do so though, and if not, you can always have this toggled off if you'd like to do it on a bit more of an ad hoc basis otherwise. Great. So that covers basically the core settings that you might want to be a little bit more familiar with. Definitely suggest updating and reflecting your documents and emails to really include the brand's logo, colors. If you've even got particular fonts you like to use, that can all be done by simply just heading in there and adjusting those as per. and then you'll be able to have it there available moving forward. Now, the next section I'm going to be covering is the AML, or the compliance workflows and identity verification options available within CAS 360. For this, I'm simply going to head into our company of CAS 360 004 Limited, and what you will always see within each compliance section or within the company screen is just listed underneath the compliance section on the farthest right hand side. You will have this workflow available for each of them. So if you did want to kick this off, you'll simply need to have that toggle applied. This is in mentioning that compliance and due diligence is required. You go ahead and input your start date. Once it's completed, you'll also be able to add in your completion date. So let's say we're going to be wrapping this all up today, and you'll add your compliance officer, just adding myself in the event of this one. If you did want to attach any supporting documents, you will be able to do so, and then you'll proceed and hit next. Now, you can also jump in between by hitting it, so if you forgot or needed to change something, you will be able to quickly bounce back by hitting it there. Let's say the compliance officer is actually now going to be someone else, or whatever it may be, simply doing so. Now, adding in your nature of business relationship, relatively straightforward depending on what it's going to be, but you can also add multiple business relationships. So for this one, we can simply choose that we're providing the registered office or business address, upload and support any supporting documents or images for this. And if we're needing to add in any other ones, you will simply be able to do so by clicking that button or add another relationship button to do so. If you needed to remove it, let's say you've hit it by accident, just simply hit that X button and that'll go ahead and remove it from there. Now we'll just keep proceeding through by hitting next or onto the next section you wish to, and you can choose to simply toggle on whether or not source of funds is required for this. If it is, you'll also be able to see that there is a text box that's been added, and you can simply add in some text for this. This is something I added in earlier, so hence why we've got that text there now appearing. And once again, attaching any supporting documents to help reference this should you wish. Now, our individual section, this is actually something that I'm a really big fan of, because not only will you see it points out who is a current director, so we can see there is Barton Stout and Ronald Lopez. It's actually going to go ahead and point out those that are shareholders, so we can see that Ronald Lopez is both, Clifford has shareholdings, as well as Barton and Alexia, and what percentage or who are the majority, or what percentages they have listed there as well. Now, what's really clever about this as well is we've only just recently added Ronald Lopez as a director and shareholder, but the compliance section will automatically pull through with your directors and shareholders you've currently got associated with said account. So let's say if we were wanting to have compliance and due diligence on Ronald Lopez, we can then go ahead and have that toggled on. We can choose whether or not PEP checks are required, adding in any text to help reference this alongside any images. If we do have source of funds required for said person, adding in any free text and supporting documents once again. And of course, we can add in and see what identity documents we might have already attached to this contact. So I've already previously attached a driver's license to Ronald Lopez, and now we can see that this is also pulling through, so we can see that that's the one we've got on hand. And based on the expiry date that's listed within here, this is what's going to cause that compliance alert to pop up to let you know that, hey, an identity document has expired for X person on X date, or is even coming up for expiry. So really, really helpful, obviously, because those are definitely some key documents to have on hand. And once again, if you need to add an additional image or anything else to help reference this, you can do so. And if you need to add in any other identity documents, all documents in general, you can simply do so by clicking on that there to add that in. And this can be repeated once again on all your different individuals there, simply by using those toggles to toggle it on or off. Next, we've got the risk assessment section. So you'll be able to choose why or what that risk option is. So maybe they're specified in the Act as requiring EDD, and you'll be able to add in any other text for this. Supporting documents once again, and perhaps some other options might be that it's a politically exposed person or whatever it may be. Otherwise, you can also add in other, which is largely going to be based on your free text option there too. In this case, I'm just going to say that they are a cash intensive business. And we've got some additional free text I've added in there. And if we need to add in any other risk options, simply adding in via that blue button there. Now, based on the above, you will also be able to set the level of overall risk that is applicable. In this case, we'll just go ahead and choose medium to high perhaps, and the same level of CDD that's going to be required. I'm just going to be running standard in this case. Any areas that have been missed or need further adjusting will also be pointed out as overread, and we initially saw that when they were grayed out, it is also not completed yet. However, once we've made our way through it, added in the required information or toggled on what we needed, it's all then ticking through as green and making our way through. You do also have the ability to add in notes for this as well. So we do also try to add in a notes section where possible for you. And once that has been wrapped up, you'll be able to see that there is the completed by section. This isn't quite, and what date that was completed. You'll also be able to choose the next review required date within here should you wish as well. Now we don't have the reviewer option ready just yet, but this is something we are working on, so do keep your eye out there. We do look forward to bringing that out at a later date. But let's say if you did end up getting interrupted and you need to disappear, let's say we hadn't finished this just yet, or we actually need to come back and adjust some of the information here, you will see that down the bottom you've got that save for later button, and this at least is going to be able to save what you have currently done, and if there was anything else you needed to come back to do. Awesome. Now, you will also see that there is the compliance report button showing up just down the bottom there. So you can access this from either the report screen or the compliance section once you've completed everything. Go ahead and download that one there. And now we can see that even though we've just completed this, this has provided us with that compliance report of all the details that we've added in there, the nature of business relationships, as well as the compliance officer and the next review date. Of course, what date it was completed and started on, and the individuals, and if we've perhaps toggled on PEP checks and source of funds required, as well as if they've got any identity documents attached next to them, and obviously the risk assessment that we've associated with this company and contacts as per. So do be sure to check out the compliance workflow available. I do know it's especially going to be helpful, especially with the likes of some of that compliance reporting that needs to be done. This is going to be really nice and easy way to be able to have it all done within the one section especially. Now I did mention that there are also identity verification options available. So you might have actually seen that just within the individual sections, but this is also going to be reflected in a very similar manner up against contacts. Once you've clicked into a contact, you will see there are two buttons. So there is the option to request ID verification or verify the identity. If you choose verify the identity, it just simply means that if you've got a driver's license or re- necessary identity document attached to said client, you'll be able to go ahead and verify that one. But let's say if you don't have their driver's license, perhaps, then what you might want to do is send and request for the ID verification. And that's then going to take them through the process of adding that information in, completing a check, and then coming back with your results. So once again, just noting out the key difference between the two is verify identity is going to verify them on the spot with the necessary documents that you might have on hand. Otherwise, if you don't have the identity documents, you can choose to request that they complete this and it will then go ahead and verify that. So I would actually like to go ahead and go through what this process actually looks like. And you will actually see that you've actually got a couple of options available just listed underneath verify identity. You can choose to either use our integration partner for cloud check, and if you've got a subscription, then it's going to be nice and easy to proceed through. If not, you can always choose to check out some of these links that will then go through and help you set that up. However, on top of that, we've actually developed and we've got our very own in-house identity verification tool, which is BGLiD. So we do like to provide options there, and we've got both cloud check and our very own option available. So if you were looking to use those tools, I would suggest checking them out, as they can definitely help in regarding your compliance and identity verification tasks that might need to be done. So if we are wanting to use that request ID verification button, do just note that this is going to be through your BGLiD option, just because this is an in-house option, so we're able to both send out that email and verify what's coming back alongside the results of what the client's going to be doing. And with this, you do have a few different options available. So you can actually set up a reminder in regards to the identity verification email that's being sent out, in case it's once again one of those clients that tends to take a little bit of time to get back to you, whether that be 7 days out, 1 day out, whatever it may be. And same with the completed email. So once it's been verified and completed, would you like it to send an email to both the sender, the client, or both perhaps, or maybe don't send an email out to either? In this case, I'm just going to leave it as sender and client, and then you can see you've got three different checks available. So you've got the standard NZ government ID check, which is going to check against government ID, anti-money laundering, as well as global sanction databases. And then you've also got the advanced check, which is just simply toggled on to have that one applied. And this includes all three of those databases as well as the adverse news database. So this is going to be especially helpful if you've got someone that perhaps might be a politically exposed person and you wanting to make sure that there is no bad press or negative media surrounding that person. Or perhaps they've gone overseas recently and you're wanting to check out if there was any incidents or anything over there that might have happened as well. Lastly, and quite excitedly, if I may say so myself, we do have the driver's license for biometrics now available. This is something we've only recently released, and so this is still in the beta stage. However, we have had some great success across different firms using this, and it's simply very similar to the advanced check option, except in the case that it's going to have your client go through and input their driver's license as well as taking a selfie, and it's then going to be able to provide that biometric check and extra precautions and measurements in place for it should you need it as well. However, in this case, I'm just going to be walking you through the standard driver's license advanced check, so we'll go ahead and proceed with that. And of course, you do also have the price ranges for these down the bottom there, listed as per. We can then see where this email is going to go through to. So we're looking to verify Ronald Lopez, which in this example, I've actually got my email in the background there, so we can walk you through what the client would actually be seeing and what they would do and how simple this process can be. Just a wee email as to what's going to be listed out and what they're needing to do. Does also point out that the identity verification request does expire in 21 days. So that is also quite helpful because you can also choose to put that in bold or underline it, and it's really going to push your client to go ahead and get that done sooner than later. Even if you've got maybe a 7-day document reminder applied as well, it's going to make sure nothing gets missed, or hopefully anyway. But yeah, once again, this email section is completely customizable. Even if you haven't set up a new template for it, you will be able to add and edit that on the fly should you wish to. Once you're happy with that, you'll simply hit the send button, and this is going to then make its way out to that email. I then come through to my emails. This is our supporting documents. We can then see here, I've got the identity verification request that I've just sent out. Dear Ronald Lopez, please complete the following documents, etc., etc. Now we can kick off and proceed with the BGLiD process. First, it's going to opt to send you a code, which you'll just need to copy that one over. Awesome. Here we can see the codes come through. Lovely. That's now brought us to the portal in which the client will be able to see their current details, and they can go ahead and add their driver's license to be verified against. In this case, I do have a test one I can add in. Simply adding in the required information, which is your country of issue, driver's license number, the expiry date for this, and of course the license version, and that is that. Once we've done that there, we can go ahead and choose submit. Now there is some consent forms in regards to privacy policy and such as well, so they will be able to click on this to check that out further. Otherwise, they will then be able to proceed and proof of their consent and submit to do this. And then this and then this will go ahead and then have that identity verification start taking place in the background. Now, it will also give you a little bit of a blurb letting you know when you did send off a verification request for a contact. And we will also be able to find this underneath the contact section as well. So it's going to show up within the compliance section there, but within our contact as well. Once that one has been verified, we will also have this pending changed over to approved. Just going to refresh my screen there in case it hasn't come through yet. And in the interest of time, I might have to go through and show you a different one because this one seems to be taking a little bit of time. Typically, it takes no more than about 1 to 2 minutes nonetheless. I did have another one that I had verified previously. And what you will be able to see is simply underneath the compliance section. This is a Another one that I'd done would actually come back and you'll then be able to see that there is the green tick box or tick icon next to it, meaning it has then come back and been verified. And it'll even go out and point out which date they had been verified on as well, and that it's passed up against which document and which sanctions database. Just double check in case it's come back yet, but not quite, but that's all right. Nonetheless, what you will also have access to is there is the identity verification report, which will come back too. So you will also be able to view that one by hitting the view icon. This is actually one I'd done for a previous webinar and was called Ronald Lopez, but due to using that contact name quite a few times, I've just adjusted it. But this is exactly what you would actually end up seeing for the one I'd just done. Just seems to be taking a little bit of time at this stage, but nonetheless, you can see that you would end up being able to see where it's passed. So you can see that that New Zealand driver's license has the matching sources, and of course, the name, birth date verified, and document type that was used, which was the driver's license, as well as the current details that you had submitted at that time. Now, what I will also point out is I can go ahead and show you what a failed one would look like. So let's say for Bart Simpson here, you will once again get that snapshot pointing out that, hey, it had failed up against the driver's license as the identity document, which makes sense because I'd actually used the one I'd used earlier today up against this Bart Simpson's instead, and it's obviously not matched in that case. But if you go ahead and click into set contact, underneath the compliance section, it will also then have that compliance report through BGLiD, this time advising on your non-matching sources, and that it was a fail, and what that document type that was that did not pass. Awesome. So that largely brings us to a wrap today there for everything. I have covered a whole lot of information there, so I do hope I haven't burned anyone's ears. But I'm really thankful for you coming along today and do hope that you've been able to take a few new learnings or maybe find out a little bit around some of the other functions available within CAS 360. But speaking of CAS 360, to all those of our Auckland clients and firms, I would love to let you know and give you a little bit of a early heads up that we will actually be having a networking event on Friday the 16th of May from 4 till 6 p.m. in the Ponsonby region. So further details on this will be sent out soon so that you can RSVP. And I do hope that you'll be able to come and join us for a great evening of networking to those that are based in Auckland or perhaps those that might be in Auckland on that date. Please do. Come along as we'd love to have you there. And not only is it going to be myself and some of the other BGL staff, it's also going to be some of our integration partners as well. So this is going to be a nice little evening or couple of hours where you can mix and mingle. Once again, I'm always happy to catch up and answer any questions you might have, but it'd also just be a great opportunity to also rub shoulders and get together on a nice Friday evening, hopefully. Now, without further ado, once again, big thank you to everybody that's come along today. I do hope that I have been able to give you a few new insights where possible. But moving forward, if you do have any other questions, you are always welcome to reach out to myself. You can either give me a call or flick me an email. To those that might not have my email already, you can reach me on rwilliams@bglcorp.co.nz as listed up on the screen there as well. But once again, I'm really thankful that you took the time out of your day to come and join us here. And I will also be sticking around for an extra 5 to 10 minutes to answer any remaining questions. But if there is anything you'd like me to take offline or speak to you personally about, you are always welcome to reach out to me or flick me an email, and we can do so as well. But once again, thank you all kindly.